So, you want to get into VR, but you're asking yourself, what are the minimum specs I need to run VR? Well, I'm here to help. The answer to this question depends on which VR headset you're actually using, as some headsets don't really require any prerequisites to get into VR. So let's get straight into all the ways we can get into VR, and I'm going to go into my order of recommendations. Number 1. The Oculus Quest. Now this is the easiest way that you can get into VR without needing anything external. The Oculus Quest is a standalone device that has added benefit of portability and being completely wireless. What this means is that you don't need any PC or console to play VR games or go on any VR applications. This is all done through the headset. However, graphics do take a little bit of a hit, but if this is your first VR headset, you won't notice much of a difference at all. So now let's look at some advantages and disadvantages for this headset. Firstly, portability. The Oculus Quest is the most portable device available. You can take it literally anywhere. If you're going on holiday, you can take it with you. Although good luck explaining it to the TSA or customs agent what it actually is. You can easily take it to your friends or family's house. It would be the life of the party. You could technically even play it outside in your garden. However, I highly recommend not doing this when it is sunny, as direct sunlight can damage the lenses. You can watch movies or TV shows on a giant cinema screen whilst laying in bed. Although the issue with portability is that it runs on a battery, which unfortunately isn't that great. The battery on the Quest lasts around 2 hours. However, if you're watching in bed or playing sitting, this can be counted by using a power bank or connecting the charger whilst using the headset. The Oculus Quest is wireless and Bluetooth enabled. The headset is completely wireless, you don't need any cables whilst using the device. It connects to the internet wirelessly. It also supports Bluetooth for your wireless Bluetooth headsets, or even the Apple AirPods or the Samsung Buds, amongst many others. There is a big library of games. Unfortunately though, the Oculus Quest does not have native access to the Steam library, or even the Oculus Store for PSVR. On the other hand, it does have access to its own Oculus Store for the Quest. There are over 80 games and applications on the Oculus Quest Store, with more being added continuously. There are also some games that are cross-buy. This means once you buy it on the Oculus Store for the Oculus Rift or Rift S, you can also play it on the Oculus Quest. However, this does depend on the actual publisher of the game, so not all games will have this feature. Additionally, there are other ways you can access your PC VR library, using an app called ALVR or Virtual Desktop. But this would require you to have a VR-capable PC, which we will get into later. The Oculus Quest headset refresh rate is also lower than all the other 6 degrees of freedom headsets, being only 72Hz, as opposed to 80Hz on the Rift S or 90 on the original Rift. However, in practical terms, it's not really that noticeable with the naked eye. There is, however, a visual downgrade, even if it's the same game that is on the PC VR. As an example, Robo Recall, which is one of the best games available for VR. Trust me, it's incredibly fun to play. It had to lower its graphics to be able to play on the Quest, though they still did manage to fit the whole game in for the Oculus Quest, but since the Quest is running on a Qualcomm Snapdragon 835 chip, and now to put this into perspective, the Samsung Galaxy S8 uses this chip, the game has had to take a noticeable hit on the graphics. That being said, if this is your only VR headset, you most likely won't notice it and will enjoy it regardless, especially since you will have the complete freedom of movement. Inside-out tracking. Another advantage the Oculus Quest gives over most other VR headsets is that it has inside-out tracking. This basically means that you don't need any external cameras to track your movements. It is all done with the 4 cameras on the headset itself. The tracking itself is really amazing, especially after the new update from Oculus, as previously tracking would be lost when you would put the controllers in front of your face or behind your back. This is no longer the case. The update has somehow revolutionized the inside-out tracking, and even putting your hands behind your back does not lose tracking, unless you are obviously trying to lose it on purpose and keep it there for unreasonably long time. The best thing about this headset, after you take everything into consideration, is the price. The 65GB model, which is more than enough for the average gamer, will set you back only $399, or £399 if you're in the UK. The 128GB model will set you back $499, or £499. The amount of content and experience you get for this price is really worth it. Now, hand tracking. This is something Oculus has recently introduced, coming out in early 2020. The hand tracking basically allows you to move your hand or fingers in VR without the need for controllers. Now, this does sound amazing. However, since it is new, games have not been optimized for it, meaning currently you won't be able to use it with many games at all. That being said, this would just be a software update that can be implemented by many of the game developers. So taking that into consideration, it is awesome that Oculus have gone this route. That being said, because it's simply based on the cameras tracking your hands, it is temperamental and isn't as reliable as controller tracking. Another amazing and fantastic step by Oculus is a wired connection for the PC, basically making the Quest into a hybrid VR headset. This feature allows you to connect your Oculus Quest to a PC laptop that is capable of running VR, and allows you to use the power of your PC to play Steam or Oculus PC games. This does, however, make the headset wired. Another point to consider is that it is the same old tale of jack of all trades but the master of none. The PC VR element is a great feature. However, because the connection is through a USB-C cable rather than HDMI or DisplayPort, it does have some latency. And you can tell it isn't as good as, say, something like the Rift S. But you never know, this could be improved with software updates at a later date. It is an extra feature regardless. So overall, I highly recommend the Oculus Quest if you're trying to get into VR. Number 2. The PlayStation VR. With over 100 million PS4s being sold worldwide, the PSVR was the easiest and cheapest way to get into virtual reality, only now beaten by the Oculus Quest. Nevertheless, if you aren't really interested in the Oculus Store library, or are just interested in the PSVR exclusives, of which there are many, you may be thinking, is the PSVR a good headset? Let's get straight into it. Yes, the PSVR is a great headset overall. However, that doesn't mean it doesn't have its drawbacks. So, we will be reviewing what is required to have the PSVR set up and play with the best experience, as well as what the advantages and disadvantages there are from the other headsets. So to start, let's answer some of the frequently asked questions. Can you use the PSVR without a PS4? The answer to that is no. You need a PS4 or a PS4 Pro to be able to use the PSVR. For whoever is looking at the PS3, that's not compatible with the PSVR. However, please note, the PS5 will be backwards compatible with the PSVR. Do I have to buy the motion controllers with the PSVR? Well, the answer is technically no. This is not a requirement, however, it is highly recommended. I really recommend this. Using the motion controllers in place of the DualShock 4 controllers increases the immersion immensely, as you would be actually moving your hands to pick up things or shooting rather than just using a controller. Is the PSVR aim controller required? Well, again, no. This is not a requirement either, however, it adds another level of immersion, which is highly recommended, especially for shooters like Farpoint, Firewall 0 Hour, and many more. Do I need the PS camera to use the PSVR? Yes, you do. The PlayStation camera is vital to be able to use the PSVR. Most bundles do include the PS camera, however, if you are going to buy the PSVR, make sure you are extra vigilant that it includes the PS camera, or you will have to buy that separately, which will be a lot more expensive. Are there many PSVR games? Yes, there are. There are a significant amount of PSVR games. There are also multiple ports that have been made to get AAA games into VR. Such examples are Resident Evil 7. Warning, this game is absolutely terrifying. Another one is Gran Turismo 5. Skyrim VR. This includes all the DLCs for Skyrim. Borderlands 2 VR. This again includes all the DLC. And some amazing exclusives such as Blood and Truth, which is a fantastic game. Do I need the PS4 Pro to use the PSVR? Well, that's a great question, but the answer is no, you don't. The PSVR can run on both the original PS4 and the PS4 Pro. The advantage the PS4 Pro has is that the graphics are significantly better. This is very noticeable when you go from the PS4 to the PS4 Pro. So if you have the PS4 Pro, I highly suggest you get the PSVR. However, please note that the game developers would have to implement the Pro patch to be able to use it. So now let's get into the advantages of the PSVR over the other headsets. The main advantage is that most people already have the PS4 or the PS4 Pro. So you just need the PSVR and the PS camera to get into virtual reality. This way you don't really need to have a gaming PC either. And you can use your PS4 for both 2D gaming and VR gaming. Another advantage is the Sony exclusives. Sony is heavily invested in the VR market and as a result is funding a lot of good VR games and has a lot of exclusive deals. so you will never be sure of any good games on the PSVR. The disadvantages of the PSVR over the other headsets? Well, the main disadvantage of the PSVR over the other headsets is the tracking. Since you are being tracked by the single PS camera, you aren't really able to move around much. There is definitely no room tracking. If anything, it is just a simple seated experience with side-to-side movement. However, this is usually more than enough, as after a long day of work, the last thing you want to do is stand up. It would be better with better tracking, but that's the drawback of the PSVR. Another disadvantage are the graphics, especially on the original PS4. The graphical fidelity isn't great a lot of times and you do get some blur, like you're looking through a fogged up window. However, this does depend on if the game is optimized well or not. But if you have a PC VR headset and game on the PC, I wouldn't recommend going on the PSVR if graphics matter to you, as there will be a noticeable difference. However, if you don't have a PC VR and this is your first VR experience, then go with the PSVR. You will definitely not be disappointed from the experiences you get. Now, speaking of which, we are getting into the PC VR territory. So you would like to know what the minimum PC or laptop specifications are to be able to play PC VR on Steam or the Oculus Store? Well, let's answer some of the frequently asked questions for PC VR gaming. The number one question I've seen is, what are the basic minimum specs I need to play games in VR? Well, this depends on the game, so I will list them in tiers of low, medium and high requirement games. So, to give you an idea, so you understand the comparisons, the graphics card ranges goes like this. Low specification, which means that they can play majority of the games without any issues, but you may need to turn down the settings on some of the games. You will require a GPU with at least a GTX 1050 Ti, minimum 8GB 2400 MHz RAM, CPU 4770K. For a medium specification, which means you can play most games without any issues, you would need a GTX 1070 or a GTX 1660 Ti, 16 gigs of RAM, 1TB hard drive, and a 256GB SSD, plus an i7 7700K. For a high specification, where no games can stop you, you would get a GPU which is either a 1080 Ti or a 2080. You don't really need anything higher, but if you want to, you could also get a 2080 Ti, but right now for VR it's not really a requirement. 16 gigs of RAM. Again, you don't need any more RAM for the current generation, and RAM can be upgraded later on. I would get 2TB hard drive plus 256 SSD and a CPU i7 8700K. With this, no games can really stop you. You've most likely powered everything through. Any games struggling with this, then they really need to be optimized. So, a question might be, does it matter if I have a laptop or a PC? Well, yes it does. The reason it matters is because even though the graphics card has the same name on the PC or the laptop variant, that does not mean it has the same performance. The performance on the laptop variant of GPUs has been reduced to improve thermals. As you can tell, laptops don't really have much room to be able to dispel the heat, which is why GPUs have been underclocked to avoid overheating. This is especially the case with the Max-Q design. Even though it is called Max-Q, it is similar to Pepsi Max, taking out all the good stuff. This means you would generally need to go on one level above for GPUs to get similar performance of the PC counterpart. Apart from the 1070, which is very close to its counterpart. But to put it into perspective, I have listed the low, medium and high range for laptops. Low specification, GPU 1070 Max-Q, 2060 Max-Q, or AMD Radeon RX 560X. An i5 9300H, 1TB hard drive, 16 gigs of RAM. Medium specification, a 1070 or a 2060. Be careful not to accidentally go for the Max-Q variant. The CPU should be i7 8550U, 16 gigs of RAM, 1TB hard drive and 256GB SSD. And finally, for the high specification, a GPU 2070. Anything above is a bonus but not worth it. Unless you need the best of the best, then go for the 2080. A CPU i7 8550U, 16 gigs of RAM, 2TB hard drive plus a 500GB SSD, which will be amazing. To help you guys out, I've listed some example VR capable PCs and laptops from Amazon in the description below. So now, since we've looked at the PC specifications that are required, let's move on to which headset I would recommend for PC VR. So my third headset recommendation is the Oculus Rift S. If you are going for the lower spec PC and especially for the lower spec laptop, I highly suggest that you choose the Oculus Rift S as your headset of choice. Not only is it a great headset, but Oculus also has its asynchronous space warp ASW technology embedded in their headset, which basically means that you can play VR games with lower specifications, literally half the requirements, without it affecting your experience. This is something that happens automatically, so you would not even need to do anything to enable it. Not only that, as above with the Oculus Quest, it also has inside-out tracking, but with one extra camera on the top. This gives a similar feel of a 3-camera setup from the original Rift. From my experience, it works very well, especially with the recent updates. The controllers do not lose tracking even if you put them up close to your face, similar to the Oculus Quest. Visually, the Rift S looks absolutely amazing. You can easily tell there is a significant difference between the original Rift and the Rift S. The image looks sharper, you can read text that were blurry on the original Rift. For me, it was a worthwhile upgrade, and for only $399 or £399. The biggest negative on the headset, however, is the audio. Clearly, to save costs and keep prices low, Oculus has removed the headphones that were on the original Rift. However, I would have gladly paid a little bit more for a headset option. To be honest, sound does come from the headset, but I'm very disappointed with it when you compare the two. The headset also runs at 80 Hz, which, to be honest, you can't even tell the difference between 80 Hz and 90 Hz. So I would not really give too much concern over that. So the only reason that should stop you from buying this headset is the audio. But technically, you could just pair Bluetooth earphones or headphones, but I just don't like the fact that you have to be able to get a good audio experience. Or you can even use wired headphones. But again, it's something you have to do extra. So, you're not satisfied with the Rift S? Fair enough. My number 4 option is the Valve Index. The Valve Index is Valve's first solo headset. Frankly, they have done a great job with it. The headset screams luxury, and the hand tracking on the Valve Index controller are fantastic. The Valve Index uses a dual LCD display with 1440 x 1600 resolution per eye and a maximum of 144 Hz for the top end PCs, but usually 120 Hz for the average VR capable PC. Now, to give you a comparison, the Rift S has a single LCD panel and 2560 x 1440 resolution per eye, but is set at 80 Hz. There are also built-in off-the-ear headphones, which are absolutely sublime. They are even better than the original Rift headphones, and the fact that they are off the ear, you never feel uncomfortable or sweaty. Also, there is no inside-out tracking, and the base stations are required. So either you will need to have the version 1 base stations, which will also work with the Valve Index, or you will need to purchase the version 2. So, what does this mean, you ask? Well, I would say that the Valve Index is generally a headset for the enthusiasts that have a lot of money and a dedicated room for VR, as you will get better visual fidelity and better audio, but at a higher cost. The only reason I have given the Valve Index a 4th spot is because of the price. Overall, it will cost you around $1,000 for the full set, which includes the 2 controllers, the base stations, and the headset. To be honest, the headset on its own is relatively inexpensive, but the required controllers and the base stations really push it too far for the average person. So, if for some reason my other 4 options didn't convince you, my 5th option is the HTC Vive Cosmos. This headset has recently been introduced and is a direct competitor to the Rift S. Well, you would think it was. The only problem is that it is over 1.5 times the price, as the cost of the HTC Vive Cosmos is $699 or £699. For $100 or £100 more, you could get both the Rift S and the Oculus Quest, instead of buying the HTC Vive Cosmos. So, is the HTC Vive Cosmos worth it to buy? Well, the answer is simply no, definitely not. Well, not right now anyway. They may later on add some incredible feature, but it's just not worth in any regard right now. The HTC Vive Cosmos has a 2080/1700 resolution and there's a 110 degrees field of view, alongside a 90Hz refresh rate. The only thing really going for it is there are headphones included with the headset, and they also use inside-out tracking. But it's not through infrared like the Rift or the Quest, so there's some added bugs that come with it. Additionally, the customer service for the HTC is actually quite terrible. I would have given companies more of a chance if they had better customer service, as you know you are protected. But recently, HTC are not known to have the best customer service. That being said, I would consider the HTC Vive Cosmos if they added a wireless solution without losing the graphical fidelity. Let me rephrase that, a cheap wireless solution. This is something I believe HTC are working on, as they have also left gaps in the headset itself to connect something. If the multiple software issues facing the headset currently are resolved and a cheap wireless option introduced, it will make the headset worthwhile. But for now, unfortunately, I cannot recommend getting the HTC Vive Cosmos. If you're still here, you might want to give up on getting a headset. So my number 6 choice is the HTC Vive Pro. Let me start off by saying that this headset is not worth the price at all. This has been targeted to businesses, although I don't understand why even the businesses would go for it, considering the release of the Valve Index or Rift S, especially considering the cost of the Vive Pro is around $1,299 or £1,299, which is absolutely ridiculous. The Vive Pro uses 2 OLED panels, one per eye, each having a display resolution of 1080x1200 or 2160x1200 combined pixels. Other than the increased graphical fidelity, which is not really much better than the Rift S, if better at all, there's nothing much more different. The audio solution is quite nice, but nowhere near worth the price of it. What I'm surprised at is that HTC have not reduced the price even after the new headsets have released. I would recommend anyone looking to get a headset to either go for the Valve Index or Rift S route. The time of HTC Vive Pro has finished. Well, since you're still here, here's my number 7 option, the Windows Mixed Reality headsets. I'm combining them all into one because, to be honest, they're all the same for me. Now, this is the same as I've mentioned for the HTC. Even though the price of these headsets is nowhere near the HTC Vive Pro, it's just not worth getting these anymore. Some of the headsets, such as the Samsung Odyssey, were really good at the time. However, these aren't something I can recommend anymore. Firstly, the Windows Mixed Reality operating system is nowhere near as good as Steam or Oculus's. Plus, it's not future-proof. I can guarantee you that you will only have problems if you purchase these headsets, since support for Windows Mixed Reality headsets is also lacking. Just go with the options I've mentioned before. So, we've got to our final recommendation, number 8, the Oculus Go. Now, this will be a change from the previous ones. The Oculus Go is a great headset if you aren't interested in moving around. It offers 3 degrees of freedom, which basically means you can look left and right, but that's about it. This is generally good for watching movies or TV shows in bed or on your sofa and to play some stationary VR games. The biggest advantage to the Oculus Go is that it is very similar to the Oculus Quest, since it is wireless as well. Another huge advantage is the price. It is the cheapest out of all the headsets mentioned. A small disadvantage on the Oculus Go is the sound. Although the Oculus Go does have sound coming out of its tiny speakers, it isn't that great. However, similar to the Oculus Quest, you can connect an audio device with the 3.5mm jack. Another disadvantage is that it only has 3 degrees of freedom and the graphics aren't that great either. Generally, the Oculus Go is usually just for the really casual person who doesn't really want to get into the real world of VR, but instead is just happy to watch movies or TV shows, as well as play a game here or there. So, what do you think of my list? Do you agree? Do you disagree? Let me know in the comments. If you disagree, you're wrong. Just saying. To help you guys out, I've listed some example VR capable PCs and laptops from Amazon in the description below, as well as for links for my recommended headsets. Well, thanks for watching. Have a great day. See you next time.